We're back in Florida, and so is my 3-rotor RX7. This has been like a year in the making, and I still can't believe the car is right over there and I can finally start working on it. We are so close to the home stretch of actually drifting that thing, and I really want to bring it out to a bunch of events this year. I can finally complete that project, which is wild. And in addition to my 3-rotor car being here, my entire shop from California, or what I moved anyway, is also here. So Chris and I have spent the past 2 days unloading the trailer, trying to organize everything. It's still a bit of a mess. These are all my 326 power wheels for the 3-rotor car, more fuel jugs, just random things, more boxes, the wing for my car, more boxes. I also didn't realize how many extra parts and things that I had for the cars. I put some stuff in storage already, but so far trying to organize everything. We got bins on bins of parts, fab stuff. This is my old to-do list, and it's actually reminded me of things that I still have to do that I totally forgot about. So I'm glad that I brought this whiteboard with us. Here's our 3-rotor section, Brat Bunny, Vert, the truck, my goat cart, the Barbie 350Z, which I'm not sure why Barbie is on this one because I never had that car in California, and Sailor 7. A bunch of stuff for the RX8 that I forgot about, and I'm stoked to get back on that car when it gets here. We got Mishimoto fans and fan shroud for the Vert 350Z, because I also forgot that that doesn't work on that car. The fans stopped working, so you can't really have the car on for that long. So this will be able to get taken care of when that car arrives ASAP. I also got all my tools here that I forgot about, a bunch more power tools, helmets too, that I've collected over the years in my storage. Still going through everything and trying to organize it, but it is pretty surreal, and I'm just so happy to have all my stuff again. We're still waiting on the other few cars to get here. The other cars arrive tonight, so yeah, lots of work unloading that trailer, but slowly but surely getting settled in. Are you ready to see the 3-rotor car? Are you ready for it? I can't believe she is here. My 3-rotor RX7 drift car, craziest build I've ever done and probably ever will build, is here. For those of you guys that are newer to my channel, you might have never seen this car. Maybe you've only seen me post about it on social media. I know a lot of people thought I sold this car, gave up on the project, got rid of it. That is not the case. This car right here was actually my first ever drift build. I bought the car, I think 4 or 5 years ago now, for $2,500. It was a Turbo 2 RX7, black, completely rotted on the inside, falling apart. I remember when I first drove the car from paying for it and buying it, the wiring harness started smoking and caught on fire, and just from the very beginning, this car has kind of fought me all the way. Even when it still had the stock Turbo 2 13B in it, I did take it to the track a few times, but just always had issues. Never have properly drifted this car. Ever. It's just been a wild journey. Now I actually debuted the car with the 3-rotor in it, just not running, at SEMA. I'm losing track of years now. And even before that point, I had this engine completely rebuilt twice before ever starting the thing. It's been a very long and exhausting journey with this car, but I am finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. We are so close to being on the right track with this thing. We are finally almost able to properly dyno the car. So yeah, in this video, I wanted to just reintroduce you guys to my 3-rotor RX7 Drift build. It's been a long journey with this car. I'm really excited to pick up where I left off with it and get this thing rocking very, very soon. I want to give a general overview of the car itself because it might be new for a lot of you guys. This was the very first project car that I ever got. From the beginning, its goal was to be a drift car. My first car ever was the RX-8, and when I first wanted to get into drifting, I liked the idea of an RX-7 FC for one, the chassis being driftable. A lot of like good drifters come from starting in an RX-7 FC as well. And for me, I also just wanted to learn a lot more about rotary engines. I had my RX-8, but it was stock like the entire time that I owned it. And the idea of learning how to do my own rebuilds, it really interested me in this platform. I just went ahead and bought one. It's been a lot of ups and downs for many, many years trying to get this car actually drifting. And I will say to this day, like I still haven't properly shredded this car. Even when it was a tuned, like stocked Turbo 2 platform, there was always issues, whether it was mechanical or engine related, like there was just always something, so it was never properly shredding. And in the very beginning, like I really didn't have any drifting experience either. I've learned so many lessons with this car. There is so much blood, sweat, and tears in every part of it. This is also the first engine bay I ever painted, like, and first car that I ever painted, and first project car in general. Like, I have learned so much and been through so much because of this thing, but ultimately to have it where it's at now, like I wouldn't change a thing. Before I get into all the recent updates on the build, I'll just give you a brief overview of this RX-7 3-rotor car. Just starting with the chassis, this is an RX-7 FC. I decided that I wanted to be a crazy person and build a 3-rotor 20B car. There was so many things done to the engine. To start off, this is a semi-peripheral ported 3-rotor engine. I also have like a mild to medium like street port on the car as well, and we had the exhaust sleeves swapped out to bigger ones and ported as well. Lots of porting in rotary cars, so that's been done to it. I also have oversized studs throughout the entire block. That's supposed to help strengthen it, especially for like the torque and power numbers that we want to reach for. And I had it tapped for external oiling. So if you see right here, boom, 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 those hard lines are where the oil was externally tapped to go directly to each plate versus having to pass through channels and then go into plates. It's just supposed to be a safer, more efficient way to make sure it is delivering oil efficiently and properly. I got all my seals, Apex seals from Power Seals USA, all racing spec. Obviously, we're single turbo. I'm gonna give you turbo updates in a bit when I go over all the things that have been done recently, but worked with Garrett on getting a few turbo setups on this car. It's hooked up and ready for nitrous already. You guys probably saw my neon yellow sparkly nitrous bottle right here. So she is single turbo, ready for nitrous. I definitely want to have the nitrous working by the time we get this on the dyno. Just want it there. Probably didn't end up doing like a small shot to just help spool up the turbo. I have extra injectors ready. These are not active yet, but should we end up needing them after a few dyno sessions where it seems it would be beneficial, they are tapped and ready for use. We had to relocate the alternator, have a DC power, beefy alternator on this girl. I went electric water pump as well, so you'll see these lines go to the back, and the water pump is underneath in the back. Full mil-spec wiring harness. Really wanted to invest in the wiring in this car because so much has been invested everywhere else. So you'll see right here, I have a super dope quick disconnect. Pops right out. So that is pretty sick. And like I said, mil-spec all around. Everything's labeled and beautiful. AM smart coils right there. If you look back there, originally I had a QuickTime bell housing, but we were struggling so much to get that thing to work. It was hard to line it up right. We had so many issues with the starter. I even had the bell housing machine to try and make the starter work. It was just not working. We just decided to throw a stock bell housing back in. I'll end up using just a blanket over it or something. Action clutch threw together a custom clutch setup for me for this build. And underneath right there, I have G-Force GSR bosses in this car. Custom drive shaft, and worked with Drive Shaft Shop to get their upgraded axles that go to my 8.8 diff with an OS Daikin Super Lock LSD in it. So this thing is beefy. She is built and ready to rock. We just need to get her running properly so I can get on the track and start shredding in this thing. I love Drive Shaft Shop. Look at this. They painted my axles to match my build because they know how obsessed I am with my color schemes. Like, look at that. And, oh, you can see my Shakuriki 326 power coilovers a lot better from here. And they custom spec these out too. and they're all colorful and beautiful. And of course, I painted my subframe and the diff because why not? I just want it to be extra. The car, of course, is on a standalone ECU by Adaptronic, and my ECU is also able and ready to use these extra injectors should we end up needing them. Inside here, I have a holder right there for a Microsoft Surface computer that is going to show me all of my data directly from my Adaptronic ECU right here. Everything is ready to connect, and I'm basically going to use this as my central information system while on track. And this computer, you can literally tune the car right here. So that's really sick, and I can't wait to further build this out with Microsoft, but that is what this section is here for. I worked with Aeromotive for everything fuel related. I got a 5-gallon brushless pump here in the rear, and my fuel-safe fuel cell that's made for drifting is in the back here. Ended up mounting the fuel filter by Aeromotive on top so that it's easier to visually see and service as well. Worked with Mishimoto for everything cooling related. I still need to sort out the entire rear ducting setup. So while we can dyno it, and I will most likely do my first shakedown track day in this current form without like a proper ducting setup, it's definitely on the to-do list. And after a few dyno sessions, we're gonna tackle that because we wanna make sure that this setup works to begin with before we build an entire like ducting system around it. All cooling is all Mishimoto. We use actually one of their universal cores for the intercooler in the front as well. Fab piping, everything's from Vibrant, even our lines and stuff that we have all around the car. Suspension wise, I have 326 power all around the car. I was really stoked to work with them, especially on this build where I took so much inspiration from Japanese styling, and I just resonated so much with 326 Power as a brand, especially with Haraguchi like pioneering the FC platform in Japan, early drifting days. It was so awesome when they agreed to be a part of this build. So I have their Shakuriki coilovers all around the car. Also got their wheels, and they're awesome lug nuts on here. 326 Power wheels. In the front, I have R1's big brake kit, and you cannot see it, but angle kit on this car, I'm actually working with OMD parts. Because you can't really see it, I did want to throw in a few photos. Both Martin and Steve from OMD Parts are amazing. Martin himself has been drifting the FC chassis for over 15 years now. It utilizes the OEM bushings to allow for more give under contact. It has a reversible arm setup, built-in caster, adjustable bump stop plates, and comes with the 57mm spacer, giving you 60 degrees of angle to hang it all out there. I'm sure there's something I'm forgetting. There is so much that has gone into this car. The only thing that is stock, unmessed with, unmodified, is the front subframe. The rear subframe, we had to do a whole lot to that to make that 8.8 diff work and fit in there. I'm sure I am missing something off the top of my head. That is the gist of this build, what's been done. I've been away from this car for a year now. I've missed it so much. All right, now let's get into some of the updates with the car and things that have been done to it since I've been gone and our good friend Nick that's in California has been helping us sort out and take care of. First major update right now is our turbo. The last and first time this car was ever on a dyno, we were having major boost creep issues. We really summed it up to being possibly the manifold and our wastegate positioning. And just to be extra safe with rotaries, one of the best places you can put it is directly on the hot side. So we ended up finding someone who could cut the turbo and then weld it on there. We have our new wastegate on our turbo, and we downsized a bit on turbo size as well, just because this is definitely more optimum for drifting. We went from a G42 1450, which is what was on the car during its last dyno session, and went down to a G42 1200. I'm really hoping this is the magic number. This paired with some nitrous, I'm hoping will give us the flow that we need, and the nitrous can help us with spool to make good power for drifting. We're still figuring this out as we go, and until we get this thing on a dyno, test more, we'll only know where to move next from there. That is the turbo update. Again, moved from a G42 1450 down a little bit to a G42 1200. Since we swapped turbos, you'll see right here, we actually need to have this cut and re-welded to exactly match up here. It's not perfect, and we need a different size flange on there. And we need our wastegate exhaust done as well. And because I'm going to be drifting this car, I was beyond nervous of how we were going to make power steering work. The rack is right there, and with how we had to relocate everything, moving the alternator to the side with this bracket, with where our lines are and the amount of space we had, I just did not know how we were gonna make power steering work. So after looking into a bunch of options and still kind of being clueless and not knowing what I wanted to do, I hit up Aaron Parker, and he suggested that I get an Australian GM unit. It's from a Halden, this electric power steering system right here, and I went with that. He got me this Halden power steering unit and even came to the shop and installed everything, plumbed it up directly to the rack there, and now I have power steering. This also is a massive step in getting me closer to this being driftable and ready. This is freaking huge. Let's see if I can turn it on. Ignition has to be on. Yeah, my fuel pump, she loud. It sounds like it's a spaceship I'm getting ready to take off. All right, let's see. Hey. Dude, she is working, and look at this. I don't know if this is normal for this to sound like a jet about to take off, but when I turn it off, it literally sounds like a plane. Maybe this is normal? I don't know, I'm not sure. My first time using it was when we pushed this into the trailer in California to move it here, so I think it's working. I think that's just normal, or at least I hope it is. And this was a huge thing that had to be figured out and solved. Aaron Parker came through, even installed it for us, and now this car officially has power steering. Oh yeah, and another update that Aaron Parker was a part of as well that I forgot to mention was all the wiring for my AM smart coils had to be redone. Now, in addition to our boost creep problem, which is why we changed the turbo setup, our coil paths were also just giving us a hard time. And after Aaron went through all the wiring and redid that harness specifically, we actually think that our last dyno session, the car wasn't running on all of its coils. So with all of these changes done, especially with our new manifold and new turbo setup, the car sounds completely freaking different. It sounds even wilder than before. Another thing that this car finally has is fully functional brakes. Now, we wanted to be extra fancy for SEMA, so I had hard lines all around this car, which is cool, but they were just leaking from so many different places. We needed to have different fittings put on some of them. It was just always a problem, but Nick went through everything and got all of our hard lines not leaking, and the brakes are actually functional in this car, which is good. You want brakes to work. And our last update is this throttle cable right here. When we were on the dyno last time, our throttle cable felt so gross and grimy. There's weird tension on it, and it just felt very, very bad. So we ordered a custom throttle cable. Nick got that on there and installed, and now she feels fantastic. I personally have not heard the car or started it up since all of these things have been done, and that's something that I want to do today. I want to hear it for the first time since all of these changes have been made with you guys. I honestly don't think this car has been cleaned or anything since SEMA. Look at this, you guys. I feel so awful. You can't even see through the Lexan. Look at that. Look at the roof. This car has been sitting. So in addition to starting it for the first time today, which I cannot wait for, we're gonna give her a quick little 303 products detailed bath and just get her looking a lot sharper, give her the TLC that she has needed for a while now.
She's a fun girl.
I need a moment. Holy crap, that is wild! It sounds even crazier than before. I can't believe like it turned on. It turned on first try and it worked, and I had power steering and it just everything worked. We're so used to things not working on this car and having to push it. Oh my God. The clutch works fine. Throttle cable doesn't feel gross anymore. I actually have power steering. It's a rotary and it hasn't been running in like a year, and it just started up, just turned on like that never happens. That is freaking amazing. I turned it on to move it here, so it's really heavy and hard to push. And we're gonna give this girl the TLC that she deserves. A lot's gonna happen now that she's in Florida. But first, we're gonna start with giving her a 303 Products makeover. The car is all cleaned up. There's honestly some paint damage with how long oil was left on it. That's on me. I feel bad. However, I do know that this car will be either getting completely new paint job, new livery, everything, or I'm also currently looking for a new chassis. So if any of you guys see RX7 FC chassis in the Florida area, maybe I'd go as far as Atlanta, please send them to me in the DMs. Right now, I'm just gonna go grab a computer and send the base map that is on it right now to Vargas so he can take a look at it and just make sure we are safe to be kind of putting the car around the compound as I'm moving it from building to building. And then hopefully Vargas will be here in Florida very, very soon to tune this thing on our dyno here at the compound.